Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Bunny Operator here. As you can tell from the title of the video as well as the opening video, we're going to go over the RailScales LEAF front sight for the DBAL-A3. Specifically, we're going to basically go over why I opted to set up this particular build the way that I did, and go over some of the considerations that you might have to think of if you are intending to set up a similar build in this manner. To begin with, this particular build was intended as a general overall use firearm for me, specifically a daytime plus nighttime oriented gun in a shorter configuration. The barrel itself is an 11.5 Centurion Arms barrel with their 10.5 handguard. For the muzzle device, I'm using a Surefire 3-prong, the non-war comp version. And the reason why I opted for the non-war comp version is for the eventual use of a suppressor or any type of Surefire device. You see there's a lack of ports in the front there. Labyrinth seals, it's what it's known as, help to seal the gases a little bit better when using a Surefire suppressor. Prevents gas from leaking out of the seal section here. For the optic, I'm using an Aimpoint Comp M5 with a Unity Tactical Micro Riser. So note that this is the first iteration of the Comp M5 and not the newer Comp M5S. And the reason why I opted for the first version, despite the quote unquote the reports of battery issues or battery contact issues should you drop it. I haven't personally experienced that. Then again, I haven't actually dropped this one at extreme cases or higher heights, if you will. So the S model doesn't have the same footprint as the Aimpoint Micro, the Aimpoint T1, T2, or the Comp M5. So because of that, I opted for this version. And plus, this was available for cheap for me, so I ended up just getting the combination itself. I think I ended up getting that combination for approximately $700 or so for the mount plus the Comp M5, so that worked out for me. Note that the Unity Tactical Fast Riser Micro Mount has a built-in rear iron sight and has provisions to install a front sight here, but you're limited to approximately 2 to 2.5 inch of a sight radius, which is not ideal, but considering that these are rudimentary tertiary backup iron sights, that makes sense. But since I had the Steiner DBAL up front for this specific setup, I wanted to go ahead and install the RailScales LEAF front iron sight in order to use with the Unity Tactical rear sight to give me an approximately 13.5 to 14 inches of sight radius. That's approximately the same as a standard carbine sight radius with a considering the rear iron sights plus a fixed front sight or an FSB front sight block, basically, that which is approximately 14 to 14.5 inches. So we're going to go ahead and measure that for you, as you can see here. So we'll go ahead and use the rear of the Unity sight. You can see it's approximately about 13 inches to the front of the blade here. So 13 inches, it's not bad. It's still usable. RailScales does note that the front sight was based on a 50 to 200 yard zero or 50 to 200 meter zero, depending how you want to read it. But I mean, the two are similar for the intents of this particular usage because they're not designed as precision iron sights, but just rudimentary backup irons. So basically minute of man, it's designed to be able to hit between 50 and 200 yard zeros, if you will. So you take a look at the package here. In the back of it does note that the elevation of the front post was designed for 5200 for 5.56, but you know, it should work with most configurations. And since this is relatively close to a carbine sight, I don't expect that it wouldn't hit if I needed to hit. So for the purposes of this build, my primary aiming device is my red dot. From a secondary aiming point would be the laser, whether it be IR or green laser, specifically from the DBAL-A3. And then tertiary are the iron sights, the backup irons, which is the Unity Tactical's built-in rear with the LEAF front sight. So I'll go ahead and roll in a footage of what that sight picture looks like. Understanding that, just remember, as I stated before, that this is a rudimentary backup iron sight. I will intend to use this on the range the next time I head out, just to confirm zero and make sure that it holds. Now note that the DBAL-A3 specific model only has one screw hole versus the two holes that the other DBALs have, and that's just the nature of the design for this particular A3 model. Now, because of that, you can bump this hard enough to move the sight a little bit. So what I did was I basically just moved it as far right as I could and just tightened down the screw. Now it does come with two screws, so you can use whichever one's going to give you the most tension. I did reach out to RailScales and they stated that it is possible, but considering these are very, very basic iron sights, it shouldn't be too much of a problem to hold zero. I also asked if the sticker should be removed. On the newer DBALs, the warning stickers right there, you see the yellow sticker. And they stated that they've tested both with and without the sticker and didn't notice any major differences. Now, for me, I've tested with both as well. I took the sticker off one of them and then and left the sticker on this one particularly. I noticed that the sticker does help to tension the front sight down a little bit and kind of give it a little bit of tension to prevent it from rotating if bumped. So I just left it there for that purpose. So you notice that I have a vertical foregrip instead of a hand stop, and I did this specifically for the way that I hold this particular setup and the way that I access the controls. I find that the vertical foregrip assists in the way that I manipulate the controls, as well as my ability to ergonomically hold on to the handguard as I pull the rifle into my body, or the pistol in this case, into my body. And let me show you what I mean by that. As I'm gripping onto the handguard, my hand actually is covering the vertical foregrip in the way that it sort of flexes down like this. Unlike a hand stop, which is going to be more of this grip, the VFG allows a little bit more of an ergonomic grip angle for me. So my thumb naturally rests on the serrated portion of the Unity Tactical Hot button, as you can see here. So we can pull back into my body a little bit better. And I can just simply reach down if I want a momentary activation of the white light, or I can just click forward and do a permanent constant on while grabbing onto the Unity Tactical Hot button and pulling back into my body. Now, what's interesting is that the laser switch, the mod button, if you don't know, is momentary only. But if you were to, see, it's momentary, but if you were to double tap, the laser, the circuitry inside the DBAL itself will leave it as constant on. So it serves as both, at least in this configuration for the laser, to be momentary or constant on should I need it to be constant on. So that's whether it be IR or visible laser here. You notice that the indicator light on the DBAL lets you know if it's on or off, should you not be looking directly downrange at where you're pointing at. For information purposes, note that the RailScales LEAF is a collaboration between RailScales and Sage Dynamics, or Aaron Cowan over at Sage Dynamics. I've linked his videos discussing the RailScales LEAF for the DBAL, as well as the RailScales LEAF for the PEC series, or the Adabal Cs from EOTech. They're basically the same. One's a civilian, one is the military designation, less the full power of the military designation. I encourage you to go watch those videos to get a little bit more intel, but in the video, Aaron also notes that these are rudimentary sights and they're not designed for precision shooting. And although you do have windage adjustment from your rear sight, assuming you don't have something that doesn't allow you to adjust windage, but he did note that you can use a rear sight that has elevation adjustment in addition to the windage. And some of those are available, like the Knight's Armament rear sight that's used by the Marine Corps, but also the Magpul MBUS PRO LR rear sight, which I have right here. On this example, this is a mock-up right now, but you can see that the MBUS Pro has an elevation adjustment. Right now it's set at 3, but you can zero it at your 200 yard range, your 50-200, and adjust for 250, 300, 350, 400, blah, 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 all up to 6. Now, whether or not you're gonna be able to see out to 600 yards with iron sights, who knows? But there is essentially my second DBAL. Again, no sticker here, with the leaf up front. This is a test sample right now. I'm just mocking it up to see how it works. I'll be using a 10.3, 10.5 inch barrel for this. Quad rails, just for nostalgia purposes. You notice how there's no barrel in there. And plus, I didn't actually torque anything down, obviously, because there's no barrel. But another thing to note was that I wanted this particular setup to have backup irons, simply so I can use the additional scallop cut here that was part of the design of the 4Controls upper. So it just allows you a little bit more of a relief cut for you to grab onto your rear sight to pull up, assuming you have folding sights. I will be running a Unity Tactical block riser. They're a fast riser for block style red dots. I suppose I'm running an EOTech EXPS3-0 to be able to run IR. So these two guns, or at least these two particular setups, are going to be set up for night vision and not necessarily dedicated. This one's probably more dedicated than this one, but in general, they're going to be general use with ability to go night vision. While my other builds are out there are more general use daytime and nighttime, but not necessarily night vision. So I will be setting it up very similarly with a Unity hot button and a Modlite mod button here with a Modlite. I'll be using another PLH using the Arasaka 1913 side scout mount. So you remember that early on I said that this was approximately a 13-inch sight radius. Well, from here, on this particular version, you're closer to a 14.5, looks like 14.5-inch sight radius. So this example with the RailScales LEAF in the front and the Magpul PRO LR in the rear, my sight radius is 14.5. which is basically a standard carbine with a rear sight and a front sight base as far as sight radius goes. So it should be usable from the 50 to 200 yard zero, and I should be able to consistently hit out there with iron sights. Granted, the EOTech that I'll have on with the Unity Fast Riser, I won't be able to use the iron sights until I pop the EOTech off. But that's the whole point of running the EXPS3-0. Pop the optic off should it go down, and I can just use the iron sights here as very rudimentary point shoot. Granted, since this will be a 10.3 or 10.5 inch variant, I don't expect to be shooting at extreme distances with this. Simply, this would be one of the quote-unquote CQB style builds. Just to give you an idea of what that looks like, here he goes. This is EOTech EXPS3-0 on a Unity Tactical riser for block style optics, and of course the DBAL with the leaf front sight and the Magpul PRO LR rear sight. So just so you understand, the EOTech does have a quick detach method here. It's the same that you use for mounting, but the Unity does not. There's your sight picture. Notice that you cannot see the irons through the block, but here's the EOTech. It clears the height of the DBAL, so it doesn't include your vision. So there's your EOTech reticle. Now, should the optic go down, simply pop the optic off, and I have my iron sights restored. So there he goes. But considering the nature of this setup, I will probably be running it with the CQB or the low light setting up. There's your sight picture there. So that's pretty much the explanation of why I decided to set up these two setups the way that I did. For additional information on the RailScales LEAF, either for the DBAL series or for the PAC 15 or EOTech at PLC, basically go to the RailScales website, their Instagram, as well as view Sage Dynamics, Aaron Cowan's videos on the two RailScales products. I've linked both of those videos below, as well as the RailScales website. So feel free to scroll down there to the video description to check those out. Go ahead and comment below. Let me know what your questions are, and I'll do my best to answer them. The YouTube algorithms are kind of all over the place. Who knows what they're trying to do to folks out there who just trying to spread information or provide information to the rest of you folks. So it really helps if you comment below, you like the video, you share it with people who you think might need this information. And I certainly do appreciate that if you do. I usually enjoy the conversations that I have with some of you folks. And I do my best to answer every question that comes across. That's all I got for today. Visit my social media pages, go to my Instagram, and take a look at some of the other content. I post on Instagram a lot more often for day-to-day activities and content that's coming up. YouTube is generally reserved for longer videos such as this to try to explain situations or explain why I do the things that I do. So stay tuned for future content. Thank you all for watching. Bunny Operator signing out.